Hi everyone, I'm CK Jensen and Happy New Year. Today we are doing a writing wrap. I'm sitting on my counter because I decided this is where I wanted to film today because there's not good lighting today. It is cloudy and dark and miserable outside. And as you can see, I have way too many lights on my ceiling and none of them are individually controlled. So we are going with a little lamp for some ambient lighting and we're going to hope that this just turns out good enough. Anyways, writing wraps. But in 2024, I tracked my writing to the minute. And that's a little bit dramatic because I was not perfect with my tracking. But I tracked my time, I tracked my words, I tracked the projects I worked on. I have little journal entries on each day I wrote of what I worked on that day. Let's get right into the 2024 writing wrapped by CK Jensen. That's me. One thing I did this year was I shifted my focus from word count to time spent. Partly because I knew I was going to be spending a lot of time revising Dawn lists, and revising is really hard to get words on sometimes. If you're drafting it again, yeah, you get words. But you spend a lot of time editing and rereading, and I think that it counts as writing time because it's stuff you're actively doing to improve your writing. But it doesn't reflect in word count. So I tried to track my time. So first I have my 3 time types, which next year it's closer to 5 or 6 time types, I think. We'll talk about that in a minute, or 10 minutes, however long this takes me. I spent 152 hours drafting this year, whereas my admin hours, which was editing or podcasting or YouTubing, actually YouTubing, not just watching YouTube, I spent 162.82 hours. And fun, which was hosting writers' dinners or going to writer parties, because I have a couple of those I attend, was 99.13, which means it's not quite in thirds. It's 1/4 was fun and the other 60%, 70%, I guess that's 75%. I can't do math. I'm just vibing. The other 2, just over thirds, were about equal, 35.93% and 38.33%. So I did spend almost more time drafting than I did admin. The admin was my top category, and I think that's partly because I started a YouTube and that became a really big time investment, which I'm more than happy to do. That's one of my highlights of the year, starting this YouTube channel. Which, by the way, we are almost at 100 subscribers, which is wild to me. Oh my god, I can't believe it. That's wild. I did not think I would grow so fast, and maybe other people are growing faster, but I'm trying not to compare. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. So after the time, and then the total hours for that was 424.8 hours. So basically 425 hours, which is about 18 days. So that's super fun. My total word count for the year, because I know I wasn't focusing on word count, but I was still tracking it, was 200,038 words. And I will admit that yesterday, on December 31st, I wrote 1,000 more words so I could cross the 200,000 word mark. And I wrote 1,038 words, or 1,050 words, because I was so close. I averaged about 18,000 words a month, where my best month was November with just over 50,000 words. But some months I was as low as 0. I actually didn't track any of August, and I didn't track the last week of July or the first 3 weeks of September. So I have about 8 weeks in the year that I did not track. And I did some writing, but August for me was the worst month of the year in life terms. It was really rough for me. I went through a really bad breakup that ended a 9-month relationship that was toxic and abusive, and while I'm so glad to be out of that relationship, it was a rough month. That last week of July was where it started going really downhill, and all of August and beginning of September was recovery, and I couldn't think about writing as much as I normally did. So there's my time, my word count. The other thing I really was interested in as the year wrapped up was how much time I spent on each project. And I don't think this is necessarily perfect just because of the way I tracked it, and because sometimes I have a column for time tracking and time track. So I have the drafting column, but if I drafted 2 projects in one day, then both the time and the words for that were combined. So sometimes this was going to be double counted. But let's get into it. My prequel for All Hail the Queen of Hearts, which everyone has been asking me for the prequel, everyone I know who has read my book, ooh, what is the Mad Hatter story? So it's a Mad Hatter origin story. I spent about 11 hours on that this year, and I wrote 6,500 words. It's going great. I spent some time querying Witch's Blood, but didn't track and didn't really write it this year. That was the project I was clearing before Dauntless. I have a secret project that I spent about 20 hours in and wrote about 10,000 words in. I started that in September. Like, I had the conceptualization for that, like, probably last year. But I started writing it in September, and I'm actually more than 10,000 words in. I think I'm at, like, 11,000, because that was the project I wrote my last things in. Oh, I also checked the days I worked on each of the projects. So, the Mad Hatter prequel was 9 days I worked on that. But I said I only worked 4, but yeah. Secret Project, I worked on it for a total of 22 days with 20 hours. Dauntless, I worked on it for about 72 days this year. And I spent 103 hours on it. And I wrote about 80,000 words in it. Again, it's not perfect, and I kind of tried to compare against my writing history. So, like, my spreadsheet said 75,000. My total words from Scriveners is 81,000. The average is like 78,000. I have a co-write novel that I only worked on for 2 days because I wrote 2,000 words in it. Short story I spent 3 days on, 3 hours and 1,000 words was the final outcome for that. The circus novel that I started at the end of November, I spent 4 days on, 4.5 hours, and I wrote about 5,000 words in it. For Grave of the Dragons, which is a novella that I did for the 10-day novella challenge at the end of October this year that I documented in this video, I spent 29 days, 40 hours, and got about 40,000 words. Project Pumpkin, I spent 26 days on, did 35 or 36 hours, and got about 38,000 words. I have a new project that I think I'm going to keep like a little bit secret. I might have mentioned it, but I'm trying to like stop talking about all my projects when they're still in like their baby stages. Like, I just want to protect them a little bit because I'm worried that like if I give them over in the early stage and then I don't like writing it and people are going to expect like, oh, what happened to that project? Because I've had that happen, like, and it happens even with like the Mad Hatter prequel. Like, people are like, well, Rin, you've been writing this prequel for how many years now? And I was like, well, I wrote it all and then I scrapped it all and now I'm rewriting it with like a different framing. So it's not really usable from the first draft. So anyways, I hate it when I like can't write what I want to write. Like, I can't write what sparks joy, which is like a decision for someone who's going into traditional publishing like this. In terms of non-writing projects that are writing adjacent, I spent a couple of days doing my Jabber Talkie podcast, which is my supporters-only podcast. It is transferring from Patreon to Substack. So and that's like something I'm doing in the new year, and I'll talk about it in a set at the end of the video, is I'm switching from a Patreon model to a Ko-fi and Substack model. And I already use Substack for my newsletters. But we're going with something new this year, trying to hopefully make a little more money because honestly, I'm really bad at advertising myself. Like, none of you knew I had a Patreon, probably. I don't talk about it. So we're going to try and talk about things more and like leave links in the bio, the description if you want to go support me on those platforms. That would be real neat. My other podcast, Quid Pros Quo, I spent 23 days on, about 24.7 hours. And it was a podcast, so obviously like these last two don't have word counts. But we have some really cool other things coming with Quid Pros Quo. I talked about them on my Instagram story, so if you want to figure out more about Quid Pros Quo, you should definitely follow us on Instagram and also follow me and our co-host on Instagram because we're cool people, I think. Yeah, anyways, I'm so tired of talking about myself. I hate this. But one more thing I'm going to talk about myself about is my book coaching business, Blue Caterpillar Consulting. I started this in Q1, and I've done a couple clients, but I'm bad at bringing in clients because, again, I'm bad at talking about myself and things I care about. So, anyways, I spent 18 days working on Blue Caterpillar Consulting this year, about 27 hours, and it doesn't have a word count because it's book coaching. But I do have a manuscript critique service now open. So if you're not, like, able to shell out for, like, book coaching, because I get it, book coaching is expensive, like, it just costs a lot of money. The manuscript critique is more affordable. It's like, if you don't want to pay for a pricey developmental editor, then you can just try manuscript critique. And I know I'm not the only person who does manuscript critique, so like pick your poison. But like, I would love to read your book. I love reading your books. It's so fun. Like, and working with you to like, make it better. So anyways, if you want to check out, you can go to Blue Caterpillar Consulting. That's not the URL. It's ckitchens.com/Blue Caterpillar Consulting. So anyways, cool stuff. Thanks. Is that the end of the video? No, that can't be the end of the video. I have to talk about my goals for 2025. Okay, so 2025, I'm doing a bingo card to set my resolutions. So these are partly fun resolutions and partly serious resolutions and partly writing resolutions. Probably the most serious one on there is to stay alive, because I struggle with that sometimes. A lot of the time. I don't know how much YouTube would like censor me if I say I'm like suicidal a lot, but like anyways, I struggle with suicidal ideation. So I have to stay alive, and I can only check it off at December 31st, 11:59 p.m. 2025. I want to move out of Utah because I'm tired of it here. I want to learn to roller skate backwards. I want to steal 5 articles of clothing. I want to do drafts of 6 new books, which I kind of talked about in this video, I think, or that video. I don't know which corner it goes into. Whatever. So 6 of the boxes. I want to do 100 dauntless queries or sign with an agent, whichever comes first. I want to learn to dance on skate. I want to declutter 5 boxes and bags. I want to do a no buy month. Maybe spread that into a no buy quarter. I want to catalog my belongings. I want to have 6 Blue Caterpillar consulting clients. If you want to help me meet my goal of 6 clients, check out the link in the description, I guess. I want to finish my physical TBR and my Kindle TBR, which I did a spreadsheet for that the other day, and I have 56 books to read. So I think that's okay. I want to try 3 new routines of like writing routines of famous authors. I want to catalog my books and notebooks because I have way too many notebooks. I want to host 2 writers' dinners. I want to save $10,000. Don't know if that's actually realistic. We'll see how that goes for me. And I want to use up my crafting supplies. I think that would be neat. And I want to carry my belongings to the spectre. I don't think I said that one. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for 2025. I want to know what you're looking at for 2025. What are your goals? How did your 2024 go? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you. Oh, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I always forget to say that. It's like always a struggle to remember to say that. Anyways, that's it. I hope the lighting in this video is not terrible. It's fine. Everything's fine. Okay. Oh my god, I have a tea here and I didn't even drink it. That's so good. Okay. Anyways, I love you. Bye.